do 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 do. So hello, it's me, Pip, and welcome to the first ever Secret Pipisode, stardate 6.4 and a half. So everybody else has left the country, and yeah, it's just me, and I didn't really know how to use any of the recording equipment and how to do any of the editing, and I don't have any of the logins for uploading, and also I don't know where they keep the theme tune, so I had to do it myself. But here is the episode. I think also some people are doing a kind of fan stand-in cast, which is really cool. So with any luck, you'll have sort of 2 podcasts instead of an empty week. So that's nice. So I guess I'll start with news. And news is that I guess No Man's Sky is ongoing, and its release is also ongoing. It isn't actually out on PC at the moment. That's happening tomorrow. I'm recording this on Thursday, the 11th of August. And yeah, it's one of those weird ones where there's been the hype, and then I've also seen some of the backlash, and they're sort of still coexisting, and also there's a whole bunch of other shenanigans, I suppose, or confusions about things like whether you can see other people when you're playing, or, you know, not exactly what you do, but there's still a kind of, I guess, sense that people are still finding it hard to get a handle on the game, particularly if it isn't out for their particular platform or their particular medium. I've kind of been avoiding the whole review slash impressions slash everything else, because I'm not actually doing it for RPS, and I would quite like to play it and see firstly how it measures up to what I saw when I went to the Hello Games studios back in the early part of this year, and also I would like to be playing it and forming impressions as I go, rather than seeing if those impressions match up to what I've seen on other people's YouTube streams. But I would say that there did look to be an interesting Twitch stream that that was up today. I hope that it'll be archived or saved or something, so I can go back and watch it when I've started playing. But it was twitch.tv/Cam and Seb, and they were sitting and playing with an astrobiologist, and when I sort of squinted at the screen to just give it a quick check, they were naming trees and talking about the process of naming conventions and things like that. So that might be worth checking out. But like I say, I haven't actually watched it myself for more than about 30 seconds, because yeah, I wanted to go in not exactly fresh, but at least able to not have it collapse under the weight of so much reading around things, I guess. So yeah, that's kind of the news segment, I guess. The other news this week, and which will still be kind of in time for when I put this up, is the International, which is Dota's massive annual blowout tournament with a multi-million-dollar prize pool, is ongoing at the moment, and it's been absolutely phenomenal. There have been upsets, there have been comebacks, there have been just phenomenal plays. I mean, I don't want to go into the details for a whole bunch of them, but in case people are trying to stay spoiler free for particular things or want to catch up on them. But on day 3, there was one match that I would say is one of the best games of Dota I have ever seen. Like, to the point where I was in tears of, sort of almost. Basically, the match had been so tense and so overwhelmingly full of exciting moments and had been so ridiculously compelling over such a long period of time. I was just emotionally sort of spent and exhausted and excited and overwhelmed, I guess. So I would say, if you are interested, that is definitely a thing to look out. If you only catch one match so far, I guess. And Saturday is like the grand finale blowout. So yeah, I would say always worth having a look at that one. Chris is over there at the moment, and I thought I would get him on the Skypo phone, well, the interneto phone, and see how everything was. So here is Chris.
Hello Pip.
Hello Chris, how are you?
Oh, I'm very well, bit tired, jet lagged and so forth, but it's been very good out here.
Oh, Chris, you sound a bit strange. Is that because you're so far away?
Yes, that's how internet far away works. I will always sound slightly distorted. No one needs to worry.
Oh, good. Yes, so no one needs to dig any further into that, or whether you are who indeed you say you are.
No, this is I, Chris. But yes, the international's been very good, very exciting. Really like the matches, and I'm now going to go and buy Pip lots of presents. Maybe a big Cinnabon, and some other treats because she is so great.
Oh, thanks, Chris. That sounds pretty good. I look forward to all of that when you get back.
Oh yes, lots of suitcases full of presents. Okay, well, must go. Bye.
Thanks. Well, so that was Chris reporting live from far away at the International. I suppose now is the time when I do what I have been playing instead of No Man's Sky. So, today I have been playing Hugh, and Hugh is a game about colours, and it's basically got as its central idea, it's a puzzle platformer, and what you do is you flip the background colour to, a bunch of different colours that you've unlocked from a little spectrum ring that you can bring up on screen, and if they are the same colour as like an obstacle or a block or a crate or a wall, then that disappears and you can just walk along as if it's nothing because it gets subsumed into the background. And then if it's a different colour, then it becomes an object that you can interact with. And so I've just been having a lot of fun with that. It hasn't been super taxing, any of the puzzles, although some of them do require you to flip how you're thinking about things. So for example, you might have been struggling with a particular thing, going, oh, how do I do this? It's impossible. I can't possibly get that block through that wall because they're the same colour, so when I flip the background, both things disappear, or both things are now physical objects, so it becomes difficult to see how you would get one past the other. But then you'll suddenly see, I guess, the flip that you need to make in terms of how you interact with the environment, and then that becomes clear, and you usually have like quite a long swathe of puzzles after that you can then solve relatively easily, I would say. But the actual world is just charming, and One thing that I will say is that it has an absolutely lovely sense of when your mum is telling you stories. So the central conceit is that you are looking for your mum. And she's disappeared, and she's telling you the story about how she invented this spectrum device and all of her colour research and things and her background, and she's sort of leaving you letters that you pick up throughout this world. And usually after you've picked up a letter, you actually have a relatively easy but varied stretch of terrain that you're passing through. So you'll pick up a letter and you'll go down some corridors and up some steps and down some steps and around and kind of and that I found actually just really well balanced in terms of letting you have something that you could do with your hands while you were being told a story. So instead of having to sit through a cutscene or something, it was that you were able to keep moving. There was a sense of variety in terms of moving up steps and down them, and but still paying attention to this voice, which was really lovely. And also, it maybe felt a bit unlikely that this is what was being told by a mother to her son, but at the same time the content of the letters was really personal and just really nice, and I kind of like the idea that maybe they had a relationship where the mum was really open and honest, or sort of was comfy talking to her son about all of this stuff. That was just really nice. I think I'm about halfway through. I've collected about half of the colours on the spectrum wheel, which that was kind of interesting because I now have a whole bunch of sort of pinks and reds and purples, and orangey kind of, that more reddish end of the spectrum, and the blue that you start off with. But I am starting to really feel the absence of green, and I think that when that finally does show off, that's actually probably going to be a bigger emotional payoff for me than maybe it would normally be. But I'm weirdly excited to see green in this landscape. But yeah, so that's been really cool, and I've just enjoyed being in its sort of little manageable puzzly world. It's really cute. I saw it at Rezzed a couple of years ago, so well, not a couple of years ago, a year and a half ago, because it was the Rezzed before last, but so you might actually have seen it while it was there. But yeah, so I would say that's been a pleasure. I don't think I have anything else that I have played that I will talk about, simply because it's been more of the same of games that I've played quite recently, just sort of trying to figure out other bits and pieces to do with them. And I've also started playing in earnest Sunless Sea, but I haven't got far enough in any of my story loops to have stories to tell you guys. So I think I'm going to leave that, but hopefully get a bit more gaming in over the weekend and be able to talk about that a bit on next week's pod, unless the whole thing ends up being a No Man's Sky-a-thon, which is entirely possible. So yes, and this is the part where we would usually hand over to questions from questions, but also again don't really have any of the logins, and yeah, so I thought that I would pretend that somebody had asked a question about podcasts again, because I know that we talked fairly recently about podcasts that we listen to and we recommend, and I just wanted to add an extra one to that list because I was looking rather for insect podcasts to add in, because if you follow me on Twitter at all, I've been super excited about having a garden and being able to watch the wildlife actually come into that space and get comfy with me pottering around, and I have really loved watching it grow and change as well over the last maybe season or two. For example, I found out that shield bugs are actually quite common in my garden, it seems, and also how they change over time. They actually have slightly different looking forms that they take on their road to becoming an adult. And also I would say that I've really enjoyed having birds living in the nesting box as well. That's been really awesome. And at the moment, when I look out in the morning, sometimes I see the fledglings in the apple tree just outside, and they are so fluffy. They're like, yeah, just these little puffs of bird that are sort of bimbling about and trying to work out how to navigate an apple, and, you know, sort of end up upside down trying to peck at the thing and not fall over, and it's absolutely delightful. But anyway, so I was looking for insect podcasts to listen to, and I found one called Arthropod, which is an excellent use of a pun. But also I haven't listened to many. I've just listened to the one episode so far, and it started off with, I think, what was a several minute long, it turned out to be an advert for sort of flea control in pets, but it was also really interesting. It just sort of talked about actual, you know, flea physiology and stuff, which was kind of cool. Anyway, but the episode that I listened to was called A Dance with Dragonflies, and it featured a lady called Dr. Jessica Ware, and she was just talking about her research and about dragonflies and damselflies and similar creatures just in general, and then was also, I think she's also doing some research into termites and things, and that was just, the whole thing was really interesting. But she's also got the best anecdote about dissecting dragonfly penises that I've ever heard. Admittedly, I think I have only heard that one, but at the same time, it still sits within general anecdotage as an excellent addition to a conversation. So I thought I would just highlight that podcast. So I think that's going to be the end of this Pipisode. I've already forgotten what number I said it was at the start, but yes, and so I guess, like, okay, I'm gonna try and do all of the closing, I guess, housekeeping words, but I might forget things and it might all go wrong. So if you would like to follow us on Twitter, it's at Crate and Crowbar. And if you would like to find us on the internet, it's crateandcrowbar.com. And I think that the forums are crateandcrowbar.com/forum. And there's a Discord link where you can meet like-minded people, and that's on the on the website. And what else is there? I think that might need to be it for that. And if you wanted to follow me on Twitter, I guess, it's at PHILIPPAWARR. And also I've started to put my my wildlife pictures so that I use If This Then That, which is essentially just a bunch of recipes that tell it tells different apps to talk to each other. So for example, when I tag something wildlife on Twitter, it posts that picture to a Tumblr. So the Tumblr for that, if you're interested off the back of what I said about the garden stuff and the insects, is pipspics.tumblr.com. So that's pipspics.tumblr.com. Okay, so I feel like that was that has probably covered off most of the ground, and thank you for listening. And yeah, Hope you have a good week. Bye bye.